overgrown cuticles, right? Not the ideal cuticles and not the clients you prefer to work on. What do we normally do? Push. Pushing leads to sensitivity, can lead to blood. Bad things can happen. I am going to show you how to have beautiful results with using an e-file and a few bits where we can just chuck the pusher all together. I'm going to show you, instead of pushing, that you can use a diamond bit in your e-file that you can nicely groom that cuticle and have a very comfortable service for your client and also getting those great results. I'm going to use the Russian cylinder today, but you can also do the same technique with a small tapered medium barrel. So I first want to show you, if you look right here, we see the overgrown cuticle, and depending on your client, some of them are a little longer, some of them are thicker, but regardless of that, we are going to use the same tool, but we're going to adjust our RPMs. I am going to start in the forward direction, and I am going to lay my bit and angle it so just the diamond particles are actually laying on top of that overgrown area. I want to be sure that I'm not going too high where the edge of this tool can actually cut into the live tissue. Less is more. And with that, I'm going to start at higher RPM. So her cuticle type, my model today, is more on the thinner side. And I can see exactly where her proximal fold is, so I'm going to make sure I'm working below that. I'm in the forward direction at 16,000 RPMs, just a very slight angle, and I'm just doing an easy pass right on top. I want to make sure I'm not actually digging into the nail plate. I'm just kind of like petting that cuticle. So just two very, very gentle passes, just like that, and we're tracing. Perfect. Now, if I was going to add an enhancement, I would then just drop my barrel and continue to remove the shine off of the rest of the nail like so, working down the lateral fold, not flossing this lateral fold, but just cleaning so we get a really nice shape. Now, if you have a little bit more of the cuticle right there, see how when I'm going to turn it down so you guys can see this so I can do multiple passes. So when I keep going over it, it's pushing the cuticle down. Whereas if I put my machine into reverse, just like that, it was able to quickly come off. All right, let's do the same thing on the next finger. Putting my e-file back in the forward direction, running at about 15,000 RPMs. Remember, if it's thicker and you're doing multiple passes or you feel like you're really pushing in, just increase your RPMs. Let your RPMs and the tools do the work for you, okay? You're just navigating over it, no pressure. Be gentle with your e-file, be gentle, just petting a little kitten. And if you're not a cat person, petting a puppy. Just like that, very, very easy. Being conscientious of this flat edge, there is diamond on it, but we're just lifting the cuticles up. Beautiful. Into my model, how does this feel?
Good.
See how it's all lifted? Then I'm going to put it in reverse. Make sure you always turn your machine all the way off before you flip it into the reverse direction. Boom. Up and off the nail plate. That is our objective right now. Moving my client's hand so I can get into that lateral fold without straining my body. You're always going to want to try to keep those shoulders as square as possible. You're sitting in this position day in and day out. Move your client as much as possible, which is also important to set boundaries of how you want your client to sit. They can't be on their phone and eating while you're trying to work with their hands. But that's for another video. All right, so let's remove some of this dust so we can see what we're looking at now. Perfect. Okay, so we can see that we have the cuticle lifted up and off the nail plate and there's no ridges because of my angles. Angles are so important. I was not up like this. I was parallel and I was using as much of the barrel as I needed to fall right onto that overgrown cuticle. Now I'm simply just going to gently push into that skin flap. I'm going to ask my client if there's any discomfort. If there is, I'm going to completely stop. But now that I see this little curtain of skin, I'm going to go ahead and take my droplet bit, which is a medium. I'm in the reverse direction, just smoothing her lateral fold, pulling the skin tight right here. Oh yeah, look at this. This is going to be great. This is like one of those Instagram moments where you're just exfoliating it off. This process right here is actually called skirting, and I'm moving my tool, the Droplet Bit, around the cuticle area. If you notice, this is different than just a standard ball bit, like a sphere, a ball, or the droplet. This natural taper actually is kind of like a built-in safety feature. And what I mean by that is it's actually has a taper, so you're not going to be it's less likely that you're going to run it onto the nail plate. It kind of has that built-in safeguard, so we're staying up on top of the cuticle instead of dropping it onto the nail plate. Very, very gentle. And this is usually a client who, when pushing, can feel a lot of discomfort. So this is one of the another advantages of dry manicuring. Her hands are already super dry. And even though in areas the skin can look really crusty and thick, it's actually pretty thin. So I need to be gentle. And this is when it's really important to have multiple tools in your arsenal, right? So since my client has a few overgrown cuticles, but then on other fingers not, I'm not going to necessarily switch out my bit. I'm just going to reduce my RPMs. That way I'm making sure I'm streamlining my process. All right, here's a good example. This is a really tight cuticle. I want to reduce my speed so I don't overfile, because I also know she's more sensitive, so I don't want to push. I'm going to go in the forward direction. Make sure this edge, it can be really sharp and it can be really easy just to go like this, but that's not what we're trying to accomplish. We're just trying to sweep away those dead skin cells. Just like this. Very gentle. We've just taken the Russian cylinder and we lifted the cuticle off of the nail plate, right? That overgrown cuticle. Then we used the droplet to exfoliate that ridge. And lastly, and you can do this if it's a regular gel manicure at the very end. So I would have applied my gel, but my last step is always going to be the polisher ball with cuticle oil. And this is just going to soften the little bit of a ledge. Since I didn't nip, I knew my client was already going to be sensitive because it was that overgrown cuticle, okay? So I want to make sure I soften it so as it grows out and she does life, it's not going to catch on anything. You guys hear me talk about the polisher a lot, but it's because I truly believe every service, no matter if it's an enhancement, gel polish, or just a regular natural manicure, that it needs that finish. It needs the skin to be softened, to be hydrated, and it gives a beautiful finished result. All right, let's take a quick look. Beautiful. Very easy, very safe, using the Russian cylinder, droplet, and the polisher. What do you guys think? Are you believers in using the e-file for those sticky overgrown cuticles? We had beautiful results. It was comfortable for me as the technician, and it was definitely comfortable for my client as well. Over time, we're gonna continue that process, and we'll start to see that the cuticle is actually receding back so that she has a more uniform look on all 10 fingers. Hey, if you guys like this content, would love to get a comment as well as a subscription and a like, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.